My name is Morgan Roberts. Today is June 26th, and we're in Sealing, Oklahoma, interviewing Florence Alkire as part of Voices of Extension Oral History Project. Thank you for joining us today. Talk a little bit about your early life. When and where were you born?
I was born in Woodward County, the southeast part of the county, and it was on the homestead of my great-grandparents. They homesteaded in 1893. 1893. And that's where I grew up. My father and his siblings inherited the place, and my parents married in 1925. I was born 1924. I was born in 1925 on that homestead. And in our family there was 7 of us kids. And my first recollection of anything to do with the extension service, there was an experiment station in Woodward. And my father was very interested in keeping the land up and modern technology and things. So we went to the experiment station, and in early 1930s, and he got instructions on how to terrace the land, and he bought a terracing equipment, and he and his brother ran the terrace lines, and my dad built the terraces. And that was he wanted to stop the water erosion on the farm. And then he wanted to raise grapes, so he consulted the experiment station in Woodward as to how to set up a vineyard. Of course, we didn't have very many vines, but then I remember the trellises and him planting the grapes, and I remember we raised grapes. And that project didn't last many years because of the drought, and the grapes got a disease and they died. So, and of course we were, like all farmers in those days, you lived off the land, you produced everything, your meat and produce, and we hauled our stuff to Sealing. And I remember we never had a pickup. My mom didn't want Dad to get a pickup because us kids would have to ride in the back, and she didn't think that was very safe. So we had a Model A car, and he fixed a 5th wheel on the back of the Model A car, and we hauled our produce to town in that. And I remember one time he was taking some hogs to Sealing to the sale, and we went across the road, a rut in the road, and the trailer upset, and they rolled the hogs out. And so my dad was just going to go on back home, and I said, "What are you going to do about them hogs?" Oh, he said, "They'll follow the creek and go back home." And it was about a mile. They did. I joined 4-H when I don't remember whether it was 9 or 10 years old, and we had an excellent 4-H leader there in Richmond School. And this was when I was in the 7th and 8th grade, and we took part in county contests. We did a model 4-H meeting, went through all the opening, the rituals, and all of that, and the 4-H song. And then we had a stunt at the end, and I remember one time that I played my violin for part of the entertainment in our contest. And another time the stunt was a horse, two 4-H members under a tan blanket or something. I don't remember the details about it. But anyway, we won. That was interesting. Me and my youngest sibling was the only ones that was ever active in 4-H. And she was 14 years younger than me. So when she was in 4-H, I was not at home anymore. And then after I got married in 1945, my mother-in-law belonged to Home Demonstration Club in Dewey County, It was the Home Betterment Club. And I went to the meetings with her. We lived, my in-laws lived on the same section that we lived on. At that time, not quite, we was a mile west, but then later we lived on the same section. But I went to club with her. And of course, you know, as new visitors and all, you were asked if you wanted to join, you know. So I joined club. And I've been in the club work for almost 70 years now. And I remember some about the concession stand at Tologa at the fairgrounds. It was where the fair barn is now, but the south part was open, and you know, there was no air conditioning, just outside air, and the dirt blowed. It was dusty, it was hot. And it was kind of a problem keeping the dust and the flies out of the food, but anyway. And I would, as part of the club work, I always entered sewing or something. We had a booth we set up where you had canning and sewing and all that sort of thing in the booth. And I remember I always did some sewing for the exhibit. And back in the club work, the county did take trips, you know, and around 1955, I'm not quite sure what before that or afterwards, we made a trip to Oklahoma City to visit the Capitol and the historical building and that, and we had the opportunity of meeting who later became Governor George Nye. At that time, he was lieutenant governor. So that was kind of a highlight of one of those memorable things. And
how did you travel to the Capitol when you went? Did you all go together, or did
I
you
think
travel separately?
we had a bus. We took a bus. And we were together. Mm-hmm. If I remember right, I don't think we were in cars.
How were you selected to go? Were you guys just decided to go together, or did you?
It was a county.
It was just a county thing?
I think county thing. Uh-huh.
Okay.
At that time, we had quite a number of members in the Home Betterment Club. There was 17 when I joined. And at that time, and it might have been a little bit before that time, but my husband's grandmother belonged to the Home Betterment Club. She was a charter member. And at that time, I think they had their picnic and stuff. I don't remember whether the Boiling Springs or up on the river, but they went and they camped out. And I have a picture that was taken at that time of them, but that's kind of before my time of being in the club work, you know. But
how are you different as a result of being involved in 4-H?
Well, I didn't know anything when I went into 4-H. And I remember one project that I made, early one, was a tablecloth and napkins. It was about 54 inches square. And it was solid embroidery, white embroidery. I still have it. And I made an apron one time, but it wasn't an apron that was according to the instructions of the 4-H manual, because I don't think I had a 4-H manual that had gotten a 4-H manual when we did that. But anyway, my mom learned along with me because she was not familiar with 4-H activities. And it was new to us. But by the time my youngest sister was in there, my mother had learned a lot. And my sister did good. And my granddaughter, well, my kids were in 4-H too. Son and a daughter, and they were both in 4-H. and my daughter was in 4-H, well, almost through high school. And my granddaughter was in 4-H through school and graduated, and she was 4-H ambassador, and even after she went to school at Stillwater, she still took part in the 4-H activities. And I know that she helped when they had tours of the governor's mansion, and would have a room that she got to tell the public about.
What was your favorite thing in 4-H?
The fun stuff. Going to Woodward with a bunch of the rest of the kids. Well, it was interesting putting on a model 4-H meeting. I don't know whether they do that anymore, but it was in a contest. Well, the extension work to me was like an extension of what I had learned at home, and it did prepare me a lot for the job that I took at school, managing the school lunch program, when after I'd been in club for 19 years. It gave me leadership confidence, and I think that back in the 50s I was county club president a couple of years, and I learned a lot in that area of communication and that sort of thing. I wasn't proficient at it, but I worked at it.
Can you talk about some of the leaders who were involved in 4-H with you?
Well, Iola Arthur was the extension agent. She was also my high school English teacher and home economics teacher. But after she retired from teaching, then she took a position. And she was a very interesting lady. And I learned a lot of sewing techniques from her. And I remember we baked bread at school and took it to county competition.
Looking back on your involvement with 4-H, is there anything of interest historically which you would like to share?
Well, after I was married, I did help with some of the 4-H kids with sewing projects at school, and there was different things that we did as on the supportive part from Home Betterment Club that way. Mm-hmm.
How has 4-H helped you all the way up till today?
Well, the extension work has been very important to me, and we try to achieve. Right now, there are 2 extension clubs in Dewey County, where, like I said, there was about 17 when I joined, which has been not quite 70 years ago. But we gradually just shrink and shrink. That life changes, and there's more where activities doesn't revolve around farm women so much. And with the farm women back in those days, that was about their only social outlet of being working with neighbors on projects and like that. Where now there is so many activities involving the youth, and then families need 2 incomes to survive according to the standard of living that they want to have, which everybody had the kind of standard living when I grew up, and it was work. Not much activity was given. Well, you didn't have time for involvement with your children's activities. Everybody was busy. But anyway, there's so much more to do with kids, trying to keep them out of trouble, I think, and developing them, and it's just different. And women and homemakers just don't have time for activities that benefit them. It's mostly all for the kids.
Is there anything you would like to add that we have not spoken about today?
Well, the lessons and the programs in 4-H have been, in extension work have been very beneficial to me. We've had different workshops, and I've gone to state meetings, and currently it's the exercise programs that Jean Bailey, our extension educator, is having that has helped me a lot. And I think that if more of the senior citizens realize the benefit from it, there would be more that take part in it. And I think that she has more groups besides the one ceiling that she does, instructs on exercises, and it helps with arthritis, and Tai Chi helps with balance and strength, and it's a good program. It's wonderful, and she's an excellent leader.